Hey, deserving listeners, I thought I would watch TikToks about narcissism and react. Let's see what happens.
Here's 5 ways to spot a narcissist if you're ever unfortunate enough to get into an argument with one. And if you're new to my channel, I am a self-aware narcissist. Number 1,
Okay, so he is saying he is a self-declared narcissist. I'm not sure what people mean when they use this term these days. Are they referring to narcissistic personality disorder? Are they just using it for another word for being self-centered? Or are they using it for a word for being abusive? I see that sometimes. I wish that they would clarify, but let's see.
will always play the victim because they are the victim. The whole world and everyone has always been against them their entire lives, so they can't possibly be responsible for anything that they actually did. It's got to be someone else's fault, right? Because they...
All right. Yes, people with narcissistic personality disorder have a very hard time admitting, even to themselves, that they are to blame because of their deep sense of inferiority and worthlessness. They are trying to defend against that by denying any indication that they might be to blame because they're very black and white thinkers due to childhood abuse. Let's watch more.
They are always the victim. Number 2, deny, deny, deny. They will never take ownership and they will never take responsibility for anything that you accuse them of. And the reason for that is because they avoid shame at all costs. Even if you catch them red-handed, they'll just deny that they did it to start with.
Yeah, and this is the problem with these kinds of videos. I ran into this with gaslighting TikToks as well, that they're identifying behaviors that could be narcissistic personality disorder, but if I just heard this, I would not assume narcissistic personality disorder. I would need a lot more information to point me in that direction. A lot of people deny responsibility. Everyone, you, me, all of us, when we're accused of things, will deny. I mean, at least when we were kids, we would deny, you know. It's also a defense sometimes that we have against our own sense of being wrong sometimes. You know, we don't want to be wrong. We like to think of ourselves as moral, good people. And when someone suddenly catches us on something, then our initial knee-jerk reaction is to defend against that. Sometimes we're not even aware that we're doing it. We're just automatically doing it, you know. So it could be narcissistic personality disorder, but it could be all sorts of things.
Number 3, deflection. They're going to deflect anything that you're...
You should just combine all these into one, because 1, 2, and 3 are all the same thing. It's all just avoiding blame. He's repeating that, but saying that they're different items.
Accusing them of, and spin that shit back around and put it on you. Suddenly you're going to find out that the conversation is all about you, not about them. Number 4, good old gaslighting. They're going to start making you doubt how you actually perceive reality and make you feel crazy.
All right, so I'm just trying to think what I would say if I were to, in a very brief TikTok, say, here are the signs. Well, let's just go to my list. So this is a list that I compiled from the research literature and in reflection of my own experience clinically, because I specialize in these sorts of personality disorders. So the symptoms are superiority. It's compensatory superiority. It's defensive, meaning that they are running away from something by convincing themselves and other people that they're superior. That's really the key to narcissistic personality disorder, is the constant need to establish themselves in their own minds and in the minds of others that they are superior, they're above, they're smarter or better or stronger or richer or more famous or more accomplished, or their house is better, or their kids are better, or their clothes are better. You know, it's just this constant need for superiority because they're running from the deep notion that they are not only just below people, but they're worthless. They're just completely irrelevant. So they're trying to build an identity out of superiority. The next that I want to highlight is being self-centered, self-reference. We won't get into that, but in fact, I should probably just take this out of the short notes, is that the individuals are very focused on themselves. They have a really hard time understanding what other people are going through. They have difficulty with emotions, primarily because of the neglect that they went through growing up. They're overly independent. They won't even think to ask for help, and they can be quite cold and distant if you're in a relationship with them. They are sometimes described as lacking empathy, but they actually have empathy. They have the capacity for rudimentary empathy, but it is impaired because they are too distracted by their defenses. They're too distracted by the need. In fact, if you can manage to get someone with narcissistic personality disorder to believe that they are superior, then they feel safe when they're in a superior position, and they will calm down and they can actually exhibit empathy to people, like legit empathy. It's rudimentary because they haven't developed it as they've aged the way that other people will, hopefully. They're overly sensitive to criticism, humiliation, because it challenges their superiority. And they can exhibit a fair amount of entitlement and a lack of ethics, a lack of what we might call a moral compass.
They'll say things like, "Are you sure that's what I said? Because that doesn't sound like me at all. In fact, it sounds like something your ass would say." Baby, we both know how you get, and I'm pretty sure you're making this shit up in your little...
What he's describing to me, if I heard this and I didn't know anything more, I would say could be all sorts of things, but mainly it sounds like an asshole. Diagnosis, asshole.
Mind. Number 5, when none of that shit works, they're going to become aggressive, go into a narcissistic rage, and start attacking you. And the reason they do this is to intimidate you, scare you, and get you to back off.
Yeah, I'm guessing I'm going to see a lot of these kind of videos. I saw this with the gaslighting videos. If you just take the word narcissism out of this video and the term gaslighting out of this video and narcissistic rage out of this video, then this video is fine. Just label it like jerkface or asshole or maybe even abusive. Just say, this is what an abusive person looks like.
It's got to be someone else's fault, right? Because they are always the victim. Number 2, deny, deny, deny. They will never take ownership and they will never take responsibility for anything that you accuse them of.
Yeah, there's so many roads to this, including if you were blamed for things that you were not actually responsible for when you were young. Say you had parents that just blamed you, the entire family just scapegoated you over and over and over again. You could adopt a stance that says, whenever anyone blames me, I'm not going to take it anymore, even when you are to blame. You could imagine that. That person doesn't have narcissistic personality disorder. There's a lot of roads to someone falsely accusing, there's a lot of roads to someone not recognizing that they are responsible for things. There's just a ton of different roads. You could also have addiction, or you could have this modeled to you in your family. There's a lot of roads to avoiding blame.
Are you a narcissist? Well, probably, but psychologists agree that the best way to find out isn't from conducting some long-form personality test, but rather from asking a single question.
Oh boy, I can't wait to see this. First off, we don't diagnose from a test. We would use a test as part of an assessment, but just from an objective personality measure, we wouldn't base a diagnosis on that. But I can't wait to see what this one... So he's claiming that people in my profession will ask one question to diagnose.
So yes, this single question alone gives psychologists insight into whether a person has narcissistic tendencies. The question: are you a narcissist? The reason is pretty simple. Narcissists love telling people that they're narcissists. They completely own it, and so if you didn't answer yes immediately...
No, it's actually the opposite. Today, if you asked people, are you a narcissist? I can't imagine anyone understanding what... If someone came up to me and just said, Kirk, are you a narcissist? I would have almost no idea what they were actually asking, given the bastardization that this term has gone through over the internet over the past 5-10 years. So, research even shows that clinicians who are trained in diagnosing narcissistic personality disorder, half of the time when they are given a vignette of a possible patient, a possible client, research shows that 50% of clinicians misdiagnose that case. So how can we possibly expect the lay public to understand something that half of clinicians don't even understand, really? Because it's something that requires a lot of study and a lot of experience, and just even understanding how to diagnose, even having been in graduate school and learning about this sort of thing isn't enough to understand what narcissism is, to understand even what personality is. I mean, forget about narcissism. The study of personality is extremely, anyway, but the spirit behind what he's saying is that if you ask someone, are you a narcissist? They're so narcissistic that they like bragging about being narcissistic. It's the opposite. Might there be some that might be like that? Sure. I mean, it's too simplistic to kind of say this, but generally speaking, if you can recognize your own narcissistic tendencies and you can recognize when you are acting in the direction of someone with narcissistic personality disorder, and especially if you can admit it to other people, then you're, at the very least, you're not high on the spectrum. The higher you go on the spectrum, the more threatening it is to your personality and to your sense of safety to have any criticism, let alone a criticism like that. So this is a ridiculous video.
Or you had to think about it, then you probably don't possess the surface level qualities that make narcissists so special. So next time you're questioning whether somebody's a narcissist, you just have to ask.
So maybe it's a joke video. Let's just go with that. So these are the first two videos. When I type in narcissism into the search bar on TikTok, these were the first videos that came up, which is troubling. And I want to continue watching these and seeing what's happening. Hopefully we'll come to some better ones. And if you want to watch the rest of this video where I watch these videos, then you can do so by becoming a member of this YouTube channel by clicking the join button below or the link below. Otherwise, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.